Everyone, welcome to Served. We've been trying to get around to this Q&A show, and we just haven't quite gotten there, right? I always preface next week's a Q&A show unless something crazy happens. Well, crazy's happened, but here we are. We're going to make it. We're going to do it. I listened back. Kim Kleisters and Sophie released the first episode of Love All last week.
Yeah, Love All, baby.
With Belinda Bencic, who was just a joy. I don't know that I had listened to an extended interview from her before.
She's awesome.
She's fantastic.
Good listen.
Oh my gosh, she's great. But I do have kind of can I permission to be petty?
Yeah.
Normally I just do it. Their music is way better than our intro music.
No, I disagree.
Look at that.
You think?
Yeah, it's way better.
Wasn't ours taken by like LaTroy Vegetables?
We lost ours to HelloFresh, fuckers.
Hey, my friend, people were angry about that. People were upset, but my good friend DeWitt made us a track that was close. It was similar, but didn't copyright it. So it was brand new, original.
I'm sure your friend is great. I also like their intro music better.
I apologize.
I blame
Did you guys hear the not the lyricist? What do you call it? The guy who writes the score for White Lotus is not coming back for season 4. Presumably, he's a free agent. Can we contact the White Lotus music guy and maybe get him to do our theme?
White Lotus.
Write that down.
But yeah, but they changed this year's White Lotus theme, and it bombed. It's not as hot.
That's good. Let's spend all the money on that, and like the rest of us, we'll just go bankrupt. How's that? Is that good?
Is a theme song really that important?
No, it's not that important. I liked our original one. HelloFresh screwed us.
God, they're just getting so much free.
Slash just probably did with we're pretty there was no way they knew that we exist. I
don't know. Maybe.
Really?
I don't know.
No.
Danny Elfman listened to this podcast. All right.
Anyways, if you have not listened to last week's episode and you want to weigh in on whether their intro music is better than ours, and since you're there, listen to a great conversation between Kim Kleister, Sophie, and Belinda Bencic. Go check it out. It is on our YouTube channel. Is it on all the things?
It's on all the things.
It's on all the things.
It's in our feeds.
All. And let us know what you think about the intro music.
And follow it on social media. Love All Podcast.
Gosh, it's so professional.
Yeah.
Man.
It's really not.
That's great. Okay, so Q&A shows, the way they work is John and Mike just text back and forth. You send in all your questions. I have no idea. I'm sitting in the studio. I normally come out here and write my notes and prepare the show and do all the thing. I came out at the same time, but then I literally had nothing to do. I called Kim just to say hi. Mm-hmm. That was kind of it. That was my prep for this show. I don't know what's coming. It's I guess it's similar to the draw show.
That's the way it should be.
But I mean, maybe
and the fans send a lot of these in, and we always appreciate it. We have a big spreadsheet going.
Yeah.
We're always humbled by the amount of interaction.
Yeah. Great. So, well, let it rip, Tater Chip.
Well, so then the first one is from J.O.B. Not Job, just J.O.B. Isn't Jannik Sinner the big winner from the spring? He gets a few months off, doesn't miss a major, and everyone else except for Mensik seems to be taking on damage.
I don't know that you're ever a winner when you get suspended for 3 months. How I would counter that would be, do you think Jannik Sinner would say it's ideal to not be playing tennis? Now, retrospect is easy. You can easily say, look at what happened in Indian Wells and Miami, no harm done. You don't know that when you're moving forward. You kind of have to make the best decision for the moment in time. Now, will he look back in a year and a half and say, you know what, that was decent. I played a pretty heavy schedule, 2 majors. Was there a benefit to it? Yeah, possibly, maybe. I don't hate the premise of the question, but even with what's happened last month, if you would have told Jannik Sinner right now, hey, you can go back in time, get in your time machine, no suspension, play those tournaments, and he would say, you know what, that's probably better. Now, what's going to happen is it's one of two things. He's not going to play as well in Rome, the French Open, which, by the way, it's not his best surface. So we're going to overreact to whatever the result is for Jannik Sinner when he comes back. We're going to say, oh, that really hurt him if he loses in the quarters of Rome. No, that kind of could have happened if he makes the semis of Roland Garros. Now, that probably could have happened. Or if he somehow wins Rome, it's like, see, it was great for him. No, he's just the best player in the world. So any result is on the table. What do you think, JW?
Yeah, I think that's well said. I mean, look, if given the circumstance, if you said you could go to 2025, not win a match or you can have a 3-month doping suspension and all these questions called about your credibility and your sort of status in the locker room. This is not an ideal situation. Let's not gloss over that. I do think the points, the point taken by the questioner, I mean, you read that PTPA lawsuit and what is it all about? It's all about finding rests in the schedule, and it's all about the players are overworked and the calendar's a mess. And here's a guy who's gotten 90 days off and can come in fresh and doesn't miss a major. I think what you said is a really good point too. I mean, let's answer that question after we see how he fares in a few of these events back. I mean, it's a lot of pressure. You come back from a suspension like this and you're eager to proceed. The doping had nothing to do with it. I want to win Roland Garros and extinguish any doubt. It's not the easiest circumstances to come back from, but no, I mean, yes, the truth is his ranking has not gone down, in part because the rest of the field is not necessarily capitalized on his absence. I think if you gave him a choice between a doping suspension and not a doping suspension and taking on a lot of defeats, he would choose the defeats. But it is interesting that the guy who's out for 90 days is getting some rest and his ranking is not suffering for it.
The
How's that for equivocating?
The counter is if he comes back and wins Roland Garros, like,
I mean, people are going to be like, oh,
I don't care what people are going to be like. The locker room is going to be like, this is.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Because last week's show, we talked a little bit and I made the point that if, this is the best time to have been 15 or 20 in the world in the last 25 years. And people are like, but we followed it up with a massive part of that, this little moment in time going into Roland Garros is Sinner's suspension. And in the comments, people are like, well, it's because of Sinner's suspension. Yeah, no, we got there. Yeah, we got there. So it is a huge thing. I think it's nice that he's coming back for him. It's nice that he's coming back in Rome. There is some space between when you're going back to Roland Garros, but I don't know that I can say he's going to be more prepared or more rested for Roland Garros on the heels of not having played 2 tournaments that are on his best surface. Now, what will be curious is moving forward with this 3-month gap. To your point, JW, schedule's too busy. Maybe he takes parts of this 3 months, right? Maybe it's I play Indian Wells, Miami. I don't play Monte Carlo. I get a later start. I buy myself a month during the clay court season to like refresh. So I actually think this experience might be a good learning tool. And maybe you take the good parts of it with the rest. And maybe you create a hybrid with what you would normally do, which is playing a full schedule, but we'll see. So
not only, I mean, he's banned. He can't show up at these events, right? I mean, he's not like hitting on a practice court and then just not entering the draw. I mean, he's completely in some sort of isolation. What do you think this does, if anything, in terms of his ability to practice? I mean, it's not like he's having hits with any other player, and I don't think anyone's sort of leaving their schedule and going to the Italian Alps to go hit with him. What do you? Does it matter that he's not? There's not a top 200 guy on the other side of the net from him for 90 days.
Yes. We used to, when I was in Austin, Texas. Obviously, there weren't a ton of pro players when I was playing, so you'd have to fly people in just so you could hit a similar ball. And I would practice with some people who were top 200, but I always use the term. Maybe they're top 200 because they don't, maybe they're not top 50 because they don't move well. But I was obsessed with getting that ball, right? That heavy ball. You can't replace that. Someone that hits the ball like they're top 50, but maybe they got the yips on the serve or something else. But I wanted that pace of shot. Weirdly, if I was Sinner and I'm looking at kind of the layout of what you're talking about, JW, the perfect person to maybe have brought in for 2 weeks at a time, 4 weeks at a time during this suspension, someone that can still play at a top 50, 60 level would have been someone like an Andy Murray, fresh off tour, can hit a big ball, can play extended points. I got to think as soon as this comes down, my mind would have automatically gone, and we don't know what he's doing. It's very private. He's not the person that's going to post a bunch of stuff about his process during this, but I would have gone instantly to find people that were borderline top 100 that had retired in the last 6 months. And that's who I would have tried to train with. I would have tried to find someone just off tour.
All right. Next question is from Andrew. In Miami, Mensik defeated Draper, Fils, Fritz, and Djokovic, and remarkably winning all 7 tiebreaks against him. So whose tennis future would you rather have? Mensik, Fonseca, or Draper?
Ooh, it's a good question. Were you just trying to see how many names you could
Yes,
fuck up
I
in one
fucking
question?
butchered all of them.
I love reading the comments.
You know what I got right, by the way?
Mensik.
I got Draper.
Fils.
Phils?
Yeah,
Already
well,
Phils?
dude. I mean,
Mensik.
we can't say anything right.
No, but I beat this horse to death.
Yeah.
As soon as, like, if I would have ever gone to Paris one time and the Parisian commentator and or umpire and or anyone watching would have gone, Roddick.
I mean, I literally am so fearful of the comment section only for the mince.
I don't know why we have the expectation that no one else has. Roddick. Like, you added an A at the end.
I'm gonna use the website bots.
It's as if the R in my name doesn't exist, but yet here we are, Mensik and Phils.
All right.
Okay, so Draper. It was Draper, Fees.
No. It's Mensik, Fonseca, or Draper. Whose future?
Mensik, Fonseca, or Draper. I want the caveat to be, I want to know how nasty Fonseca is going to be on clay, because I don't think clay is going to be the best surface for Mensik.
Bro, I don't laver. I don't know.
I don't think it's going to be the best surface for Draper. And I want to know if Fonseca is the guy already won a title on clay. Like, is he the guy that's going to win 2 French Opens? Just level set. Is someone going to take that next generation? I think we're not going to be, again, we're not going to be used to parity at the French Open, where it used to be kind of, you got the most outlier results at the French Open, you know, Gaudio winning and, you know, different players having success there. Are we going to return to that? That's a great one. It's not Mensik yet. It's not. It's going to be Draper or Fonseca for me. I don't know that you can just assume that Mensik's going to win every breaker he plays for the rest of time. I think that specific surface was great for him. I think he can improve second serve. I still think, you know, can he just take pot shots and land them on other surfaces? I don't think so. I want to see him on grass. I don't know what that looks like. You would think that it would be good, but grass is kind of a weird specific surface. A lot of it has to do with movement. Draper's come a long way. If it's Fonseca versus Draper, just based on like sample size, what we've seen in the clay of things, I'll probably take the guy that's 5 years younger. I'll probably take Fonseca, which, you know, we haven't talked about enough because every week in the comments is like, talk about him. He's a star. he's already drawing. And by the way, whatever we talk about, there's always someone who wants us to talk more about the thing that you don't want to hear about, just so we're completely clear. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity. He doesn't seem to mind the pressure. He already has thousands of people showing up for his matches in whatever city he's in. It seems like he likes it. He's not shying away from it. He's going to have to, like every 18-year-old, Carlos was the same. You know, I had that first match where it's like, oh, I can't play 5 sets yet without cramping. Like, he's going to have to find that physicality against Demon in Miami. That was like a huge stress test because Demon's there physically. He's going, okay, apples to apples, matching up tennis wise. I might be behind this kid, but I'm going to make it painful and I'm going to figure it out. Those are those learning lessons. I think Fonseca right now, but I have so much respect for what Jack Draper's done. He has improved so much in the areas where he has needed improvement over the last year. You can't teach lefty. Gun to my head, I guess Fonseca. JW?
We step back. I mean, how cool is it that there's a British lefty? There's this, you know, the 19-year-old from the Czech Republic.
Yes.
And then we have this Brazilian phenom. I mean, these are 3 total different parts of the world, different backgrounds, different routes to get there. Their games are different. I don't know if we talk about that enough. I don't, you know, it's tough because on the one hand, we have so much more to go by with Draper, right? I mean, he's
semifinalist,
4 years older.
Slam
I got
already.
been a semifinal. Yeah, he's been to a semifinalist in a major. Fonseca's played 1 major. So we have much more to go with on Draper. The flip side is, yeah, I mean, the younger the player, the more draws we have. I don't know. I mean, I've you know, whatever. I haven't seen Fonseca play live. I remember at the U.S. Open a few years ago, I think he played Lerner Tien in the juniors, and there was this huge crowd of people. So the real tennis hardcores that followed the junior tennis knew that this kid was something special. I just go by what other players react to him and other players respond. And other players, especially back channels, they're kind of quick to douse. I don't know if you were like, I mean, they're kind of quick to douse hype. I mean, sometimes someone said to me about Perry Card, they're like, I know you're half kidding about this kid, and it's nice to have him around, and he's a lovely kid, but easy there. I mean, this guy's a long way from being a top 10 player. I have not heard that about Fonseca. I mean, other players really, whether they've hit with him or whether they've seen him or whether they've played against him, there is a sense that in a Nadal 20 years ago, Alcaraz 5 years ago kind of way, this guy is really special. And I put a lot of stock into what the players who have felt this guy's ball, who have been on the other side of the net, what they react to him. So I don't know. It's a great question. And I love that we sort of can have this discussion and not arrive anywhere. But God, Fonseca's really impressed me in a lot of ways, not least the little time it's taken, gotten the respect of peers.
I feel like also that winning that next gen indoors on a fast court and then 2 months later winning outdoors on red clay, that matters to me in a big way. Draper, I think Draper is really good on grass. I think we're going to see him make a serious dent at Wimbledon. So inevitably, I think the net ends at outdoor hard, physicality, all of those things, extended format. I guess Fonseca, but that's no disrespect. I think Draper has improved as much as he could possibly improve in the areas where he needed improvement, and that deserves a lot of respect.
I just want to acknowledge that the next question was, depending on where you guys went with that, was from somebody named Marcelo, and they were asking if Fonseca was overbuzzed, but they were writing it as somebody from Brazil because they said that there's 200 million plus people that are easily impressed, so they wanted to make sure it wasn't overbuzzed. It sounds like you guys are saying it's not.
No, and the couple things to look for is you hear the feedback on weight of shot to JW's point from players, and it's like, oh, this thing, it's not just, and I caution letting the hype train get out of control. So to Marcelo's point, but you feel like he's learning in real time. The Rublev match in Aussie Open, to finish the match, he switched directions line like 3 times in a row and pulled it off. That's a big deal for me because then that opens up Pandora's box of options. And
for layman, can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah. So basically being able to hit all 4 corners at any moment with pace. It's something we see with, like, I talk about it all the time with Novak. You talk about it with Rafa. He can hook that forehand cross, fire a line to where you don't know where you're going. And all of a sudden, if you can switch directions, you can access the weak parts of your opponent's game kind of at will. Whereas, to give an example, my backhand, I wasn't good at hitting it line, right? So I had to chip at line to switch directions most of the time, which you chip a ball and you miss it against a Del Potro or a Rafa, it's a problem. So when I'm playing the top players, they know that. So all of a sudden there's a pressure release valve because I can't switch directions line. They don't really have to cover that. They can shade and anticipate, and all of a sudden they're getting 6 more forehands a set, which is a problem for me, right? This kid already can switch directions, forehand, backhand, find the soft spots. I don't even know if he knows how to apply it yet, because he's 18.
It's just natural
strategically, but he will. He knows how to switch it. He's comfortable cross back inside, cross forehand side, down the line on both sides, which eventually will open up a lot of strategic options where he's not trying to avoid certain things like I had to. He can actually kind of lean into him depending on matchup.
Not X and O's. I like the premise of that question though, because there's a real self-awareness there that sometimes hype is not just a function of who is hitting a tennis ball the cleanest and the hardest. And you come from a country of 200 plus million people and you're at the Latin American Masters 1000 event, which is the Miami Open. We're talking about Ayala last week. I mean, she's from a country of 100 million plus people. If Mensik were from Brazil and had that kind of success in Miami and all of his matches had to be moved to the big court because there were so many rowdy Czechs with drums that had flown up specifically to see him, would we be framing him differently? So I don't think the hype with Fonseca is outdone, but I like the question because it does sort of imply that it's not always strictly a function of tennis and there are other factors.
And it's weird because there are a lot of kind of phenoms. I think of like JW, do you remember the first time you saw Philippoussis?
That's a good one.
He's like 18 and you're going, oh, no one's ever hit the ball this hard. He's 6'4".
Right.
He serves
good-looking guy.
Yeah,
beat Pete in Australia.
Totally. But there's also the next thing. It's like, can you stay healthy? Do you have a program in place to stay healthy? Which Flip would tell you, maybe Flip now is like in better shape than all of us. You know, he almost went reversal, whereas, you know, before it was like, if I didn't feel like doing it that day, I wouldn't. He would tell you all about that kind of moment in time. But there are other hurdles outside of what we're just seeing with tennis. Alcaraz dealing with expectation now, where he's going, I'm 3 in the world, and people are going, what's wrong? That's an absurd thing to deal with. But it's going to be reality for these players if they become good enough. So a lot of these things I don't know Fonseca at all. I don't, I know as much as you do from watching and seeing and digesting. But those little things, when you have, I think expectation is the hardest thing in sports, and he's certainly going to have it.
I have a question to follow up with Draper. What is the energy like at Wimbledon when there's, a UK player that has hope and expectation?
Yeah. So I live that part of it. Murray mania all the time. So to give you a sense of how nuts it is there, I make the semis in 2009, and he goes to you go to Orangi Park, you go wherever to hit. His practice court is surrounded. Like, can't go get a 40-minute hit in without some picture being taken. If he has an energy bar, it's like, what is this? And that they actually treat that as news. It's absurd. And I remember I woke up in 2009, and at this point I had won Queens 4 times. I was really good. I was second best player in the world on grass for a moment in time, right? I'd made the finals at Wimbledon twice, the semis again. It wasn't like I was a dud. So I find myself in the semis, beat Hewitt in 5 in the quarters, and I wake up to a preview. We haven't played the semis yet. I wake up to a preview of the final, Murray versus Federer. And so, like, I'm seeing that. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I can't only imagine what Murray's life looked like for a moment in time. When he wins, like, I always equate it to, we make a big deal about, the Red Sox not having won since whenever, the Cubs not having won since ever. There were tens of millions of people. And if I'm hyperbolic by saying 100 million people, it's not by much. Around the UK, they had screening parties. Imagine, like, when a team wins a game at the World Cup. That was when Murray won.
That's insane.
All individual
around,
sport.
It's just one person too, right?
One person. Yeah. So I'm sure some of that is probably mitigated by Murray's successes, right? You're not trying to, break Fred Perry's record from the 20s. So I'm sure him having done it probably softens the first time since X of things a little bit. But yeah, it's mania. It's mania. JD, how does it look from where you cover the tournament? Because for a fellow player, it was insane.
It's insane. And I think one key point is that this is not something that's dispersed among a team. I mean, this is one guy. Literally, like, the church in Wimbledon Village has on its marquee, like, rooting for Andy. This is the year. And it's also, we talk about sometimes the ratings bump and, hey, John Isner's on, ESPN's going to be happy there's an American. You don't understand the difference in, I think when Murray won, like, half the TVs in the UK were watching the match. I think you're right. Andy Murray, that's to me one of the most underrated sort of feats of mental strength. But also, I think you have a good, he kind of softened the beach a little bit. I mean, I think whoever follows him, but, Jack Draper, a nice looking kid. He's also, he certainly has it's like an air, he's got a landed gentry. He's got sort of an aristocratic look. His father came from the LTA, so there's a tennis background. He's kind of not unlike Tim Henman. He sort of fits the model as well. There will be a lot of pressure on Jack Draper come Wimbledon.
Aristocratic look. That's a new description of an athlete for me. I like that one.
That's a good one.
That's why you're a writer.
Hey, by the way, in all these conversations, and it used to kind of, I wouldn't say bother me, but it's worth mentioning. Every time you say hasn't won since Fred Perry, we do not ignore Virginia Wade winning in 1977. Just level set. She did it before Murray. We like to, compartmentalize, male, female, whatever. And also whenever the question gets asked about, we haven't had a, slam winner since, in this country, since, I'm like, no, the women win all the time. Like just let's level set there. Props to Virginia Wade. She cannot be ignored in any conversation that we have that is on this topic.
Next question from Will Hupp. I often see players wearing new shoes every tournament or even within the same tournament. How do players break them in? How many pairs of shoes do you go through in a year?
Oh, I can't even. Well, so okay. This is, it has some factors. So, one, your companies want certain styles of shoes to be worn at different parts of the year. Nike opens or Adidas opens with a certain set of clothing. Some clothing manufacturers want it to be like a 4 or 6 month timeline for sales. Nike just wants flash and marketing, basically. Where the tennis athletes are basically marketing vehicles for Nike. Anything that's crazy, anything that's new creates buzz, rinse, repeat. You could barely buy some of the outfits that Serena wore for Nike. Like I don't know that you could buy a cat suit, right? But it was buzzy. Nike was front and center. It wasn't as if you were trying to sell the exact product. So they're all a little bit different. You wear them in during practice sessions, and you're not playing sets in them right away. You would be wearing them, and you'd probably walk around in them for a day. And then you would probably get in like a 20, 30-minute hit, or you wear them for the first 20 minutes of warm-up and then switch to something that's worn in for actual sets.
Oh, interesting.
So you might be like, you actually have to take the time to think about doing it. But if you're traveling from Palm Springs, you get on a hopper flight to Miami, you're probably wearing them in the airport that day just to kind of get some steps in them and to break them in softly. You wouldn't be going and playing a match in brand new shoes, I don't think. I mean, I wouldn't have. I mean, I'm sure someone's going to be like, this person does it. Well, maybe they shouldn't. But the other thing that we're not discussing is bottoms on shoes. So you go to the clay court season, every pair of hard court shoes that you wear in March, your company will have changed by the time you get back to that surface in July or August. So those are all gone. Even if you have 6 new pairs that you haven't worn, see ya. Clay court bottoms, completely different. You got to be able to knock the clay out of them. You can't have like a smooth bottom to the shoe. You need ridges so the clay, you're not sliding, and you need to be able to like actually have some grit. After the clay court season, see ya. Grass court bottom. The little dimples. So it's constantly this kind of churn. I don't know what the total number for shoes for the year. I'm guessing it's based on certain players, certain things. If you're winning, is it practice? I don't know. But the churn is intense for many different reasons past, the way that I view it now. Just if I wear them out during dingles, I switch to the next pair when they're absolutely falling apart and you can't wear them anymore. So
like for hard court though, are you ripping through more shoes? Hard court, I mean, surface dependent? Probably. And
also it's dependent on like Indian Wells, because it's gritty, rips shoes. Like those things get balled quickly, like gone. Whereas other hard court surfaces like Australia is not as gritty, so it's not as bad. So it's there's a lot that goes into it. This is probably a very boring answer, but the churn is constant. And the amount of kind of slightly used and or new shoes that just get chucked would make listeners vomit. Like I took this picture a couple years ago at the U.S. Open. So at the end of the tournament, you'll have someone leave and the U.S. Open kit's gone. They'll probably throw you something for the fall if you have a contract with a manufacturer. And this isn't talking about people that are maybe playing doubles or qualifying for the event. This is the people that are largely playing singles the last week of a slam, but they'll just leave their shoes and they'll leave them for the attendants, and the locker room attendants can do whatever they want. So you walk in the last day of the US Open, and where my locker is, no one else is really there. It's at the end of the locker room. No one's there anymore. And they have on the bench all of the shoes that have been left laid out. Some are brand new. You're talking like Nikes, Adidas, On, like it's a shoe junkie dream, and they're going through the sizes. Someone's got an uncle in Queens who's going to get a new pair of Rafas.
Like sneaker con.
Yeah. You see the guys looking like, in the thing, he's like, I'm size 10, Yeah, size 10. So it's like, it's this fun kind of mini tradition that no one would ever see. But they have them all laid out the last day of the US Open, and it's kind of like everyone's just rummaging through it. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Let me ask you an adjacent question to that. That I don't know the answer to. You know how like I don't think they do it anymore. I mean, there used to be this whole thing with stenciled rackets, right? Where you'd switch rackets, but then you wouldn't get the right feel of it. And sometimes you'd be able to use your old racket, but you do a paint job and stencil it, right? Have you heard of a situation where someone has a shoe deal and they just can't make it work? Remember like Zion Williams' shoe broke, or wasn't there a player? I feel like there's a story of this. Was there a player who had a new shoe contract and they just couldn't get it to work in those shoes? Have you ever heard of a player like putting a swoosh on something?
Probably the two things that I would tell every young player: you have to have the racket solution before you sign a new racket deal. I think Safin got caught in this purgatory when he went from Head to Dunlop back in the day, and he just couldn't quite find the thing. I know James went from Dunlop to Prince, and it took forever. And he had a stipulation where he has to find the racket before he actually switches over. So he was carrying a Prince bag with his old rackets in it forever. Like that's all he could do contractually. I'll tell you a story. I switched from Reebok when they dropped me, and I signed with Lacoste. Great, fine, no problem. But then I had to find a shoe situation because at that time Lacoste wasn't making tennis shoes, which they do now, and Medvedev wears them. But Babolat didn't really make shoes, or the shoe they made wasn't really there. But they said, "Hey, could we enter this market for shoes?" And I was like, "Great!" And it ended up being the best-selling shoe in the States for tennis. But I had that stipulation: I am going to wear, because I had a certain last in Reeboks where they would make it specifically custom for, I have a wide flat foot, which you don't see in sports that often, right? Not exactly the prototype for athleticism, but
Reebok, see that like counting a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Reebok had the last, and so Babolat ended up, I think, purchasing that last exactly because I didn't want to mess with the shoe, and I had a stipulation in the contract: I'm only switching over to the Babolat shoes when I'm good and ready, and then the contract basically starts on my call. So you would have to be, I would think, if you have decent management and an IQ larger than your waist size, you would put that stipulation into any contract.
By the way, can I point out that you can get a Babolat anti-erotic Pro Pulse on eBay? There's a mixture of never worn for $1,000 or worn for $30. Whoa. So these ones are sick. These are American flag.
I have those
printed.
Actually, do this. Don't give them any. Don't bring them back. I have the Stars and Stripes I wore them for the Olympics, and then my last tournament. It's probably the coolest shoes I ever had. I have a pair. Are we doing the subscriber thing? Are we doing? Do we have like I'll give a pair away. We'll do a raffle.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I have a pair that still has a plastic on them.
Yeah. Go find our Chuckers Club on YouTube and hit join, and we'll feed that out to the Chuckers Club, and we'll figure out what that is.
They're sick. I think I have like 2 or 3 pairs left that are new, and it's the only shoe I've ever kept. Like
Did you put these on eBay? Was it you?
No. Times are tough. They're not that tough yet. But we'll give a pair away to Chuckers Club.
I love that. All right.
I'll either sign them, or if you don't want them signed, we'll do something else or write a note or whatever. We'll authenticate them. How's that?
These are sick. Cool. By the way.
Yeah, but they dropped me like a bad habit. All right, what's the next one?
All right, last one from Drew Manning. This is for both of you guys. It's a 2-parter, but we'll see where the first part goes. If you had a magic tennis wand and could change a rule about the game, what would it be?
Gosh, it's like the type of thing I know I'm going to answer, and then later today I'm going to be like, I wish it would have been that thing. Yeah, exactly. A rule?
A rule.
So can I take liberty? We're not talking about like during a match.
It just says a rule about the game of tennis.
That gives us access to schedule.
The next part is about the business of professional tennis, which I would think schedule maybe would be business, but rule would be appearances and like what you would be required to play.
I would say actually make it, and this maybe goes 1 and 2, but I'll think of something from the business side also. I actually have something from the business side also. 1 and 2 would basically just be, if you're an independent contractor, then you have free markets to play whatever events. Like there is an incentive already to play in as many ATP and slams as possible because of points. Points, every rank, every endorsement is structured off of rankings that you get from those tournaments, right? So you are incentivized to participate in them as much as possible. Now, if you want to go, if you're Chris Eubanks mentioned it a couple weeks ago, if he gets some outlier offer to go play in something crazy or a corporate event or, a pro-am before the US Open or something where he can make, a third round slam money in a day, I think he should be able to do that. And PTAPA mentioned that for as many issues as I have that they get wrong, they pointed that out very clearly. And I think that was something that I would co-sign for sure.
You don't think our questioner was thinking more along the lines of like, you can't catch a errant toss?
Oh, okay. So
errant
errant toss. Yes. Errant toss and play let's just save us the time.
Exactly. But I got one for you. This is more of a thought exercise than anything else. But I've been here in Europe for a few weeks, and I've had a couple of tennis questions. And what seems to be, however much hooking, bad line calls, it's a blight to junior tennis in the U.S. It seems like that's something here too. It sounds like that's a real turnoff to junior players, and it's kind of run rampant. What can we do as a rule to stop this sort of, whether it's a collective, there's a collective action issue, or we want to shame the cheater? What can we do to, I'm thinking out loud here, but as long as we're talking about new rules and policies, what can we do to confront this epidemic of junior hooking?
Swing vision.
What do you think?
Swing vision.
There you go.
Put a for 100, I don't know, not much money at all. Literally have the threat of video that can be posted, and I guarantee you cheating gets cut by 90%.
I mean, the USTA could easily afford activating that in some of these tournaments.
Anyway, like pool, whatever, there's entry fees, added, whatever it is. But even just the threat of access, and don't shame with 12-year-olds with specific things. But if you're a tournament, you can put the matches up, you can post them pretty simply, and you can actually track the shots and see what it is. And there is a margin of error, so don't beat anyone up if it's like a razor's edge or whatever. That could be right, could be wrong, but it's as good as we have. It's especially at scale. I think even just the threat of eyeballs makes people not do things that they would do if no one's looking.
I mean, there's plenty of companies doing it. I mean, there's a company out of Canada, I think, that called Home Team that does a bunch of stuff in youth sports where like my buddy can go on and watch all of his sons at bats like remotely when he's on the road, and it like does it by jersey number, and it has analytics. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's plenty of options, including Swing Vision, that seem pretty cost effective. It seems silly this day and age.
Cost effective is the thing. It's like a big screen TV in the 90s versus now. Like as technology grows, like things become cheap that used to be expensive. And I think we're kind of at that inflection point where you can make a big difference for pretty low capital costs. I do want to throw out something from the US, like the business question. And I think while all the players, it's like the only thing they look at is prize money, percentage of prize money, which is insane. It's laughably low. I hope the rumors of the top 20 on the men's and women's side actually writing a letter directly representing themselves to the slams is true. It's been reported. Hopefully we'll know more about it, and we'll talk about it as soon as that actually is confirmed. I hope that's the case. The fact that you never hear anything about a rev share of sales, if you sell a honeydews for $80, that's an exaggeration, but slightly.
Not by much.
Yeah. If you sell it for that, if you're selling t-shirts, like the fact that players don't say rev share on merchandise is criminal. And the fact that that's not mentioned in 162 pages of, where some of it is ridiculous. And I'm going to beat this drum as much as I can. What am I going to say? Mike? Healthcare.
Oh yeah.
Contributions from slams.
From the slams.
Pensions, healthcare, 0% from the slams. Two business things. Get to know the term rev share on merchandise and healthcare and pensions. Think about yourself, not 3 weeks from now, but 30 years from now. Think about the people that are trying to be coaches. Think about the people that are carving out a living. Think about what your body's going to feel like. I feel a lot different at 42, having gone through 15 years of professional tennis than probably most 42-year-olds. So think about what the future might look like. Ask those questions now so you can reap the benefits later.
Oh, that's good. Did you guys catch that story? I want to point everyone to this because I thought it was really well done. Charlie Eccleshare in The Athletic wrote about the splintered, fractured, balkanized tennis media space. And one thing that really jumped out at me is how little access, all of us on social media, but the players in particular, have to clips. There's a great quote from Daria Kasatkina, who gets a lot of love, rightly so, on this podcast. But Kasatkina has a great, she has this vlog, and she basically said, I'm the one out there working, I'm the one sweating. How come I can't put one clip of me hitting a tennis ball in a match on my own vlog? Tennis is missing the boat here. I mean, no one watches NBA games anymore, but the NBA is wildly popular internationally. Why? Because if something crazy happens in a game, the three of us can inevitably will end up in our feed. Tennis is missing the boat there. So if we're talking about structural changes, this article, which I encourage everyone to read, sort of, you want to bang your head against a wall. And if tennis can do a better job circulating clips of actual athletes competing and not just dancing on TikTok or saying crazy things on podcasts, no offense to the three of us, I think that would be that would be welcome.
Okay, so we're talking about a business idea and what else could be put in this lawsuit and where we're exposing problems. I don't see the downside. Why shouldn't you be able to post your own clips?
No,
like
there's no reason.
I understand rights holders. I understand, ATP and Tennis TV, like they front money, they put infrastructure, they do a lot of things throughout the year. But what is the downside? And Mike, you're a good independent voice on this. What's the downside to Kasatkina having access to post her own clips? Like that's inevitably going to drive traffic
to the actual.
She'll drive money to the rights holders, right? It's not as if she's taking away a large market share. If Carlos posts a bananas clip, that's driving traffic back to the thing. Like, I don't understand the players. Maybe that's if there is like some sort of bargaining agreement that comes from this, and the players, can we have access to our clips to help you? That'd be great.
Yeah, and I think ultimately that's the challenge. And there is a good part of that article which John sent, and it's great.
Can we put it in the show notes?
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes from The Athletic. Where they talked about the Premier League and a couple other groups writing the letter to the EU, basically being like, hey, there's a $23 billion piracy issue with our rights. But that has nothing to do with clips. Like they're worried about people pirating full matches and full broadcasts. Like somebody posting their own video of them playing in an event that is maybe 60 seconds worth of content is only a benefit in the long run. And to your point, the NBA started not caring about this and they blew up and their ratings blew up and became more popular. And even the NFL followed suit. I mean, when I was with the NFL, they blocked everything when I worked there just 15 years ago. And now they follow the NBA model where I think all press is good press and all their prices have skyrocketed because more people want to watch it. If
you click a link that's from Kasatkina, it drives traffic back to the point of origin, just very simply. And honestly, like this show, we can't post stuff from slams. Like we can't, there's so many things that we can't do that I would love nothing more than to get on and go through X's and O's nerd session of past Grand Slam matches and tell you, we can't do that. We just simply can't do it. And people have bought the right to not have schmucks like us do it. But it's not as simple as people are like, you should do a match. I'm like, no, because we work out of a garage. We don't have hundreds of millions of dollars to purchase rights with. That's not our operation. And we're a lean operation. It's great. I'm so thankful that this kind of new media space where you can put stuff out for free and have access to ears and eyeballs for free is absolutely amazing. But we also can't really do highlights and we can't really do a lot of the stuff that I personally would love to do.
The couple times we've actually dropped a clip in to explain something, it's been flagged on YouTube almost immediately. Yeah. And of all the sports I've ever worked in, I've never seen it that fast. So it's a concerted effort. Like, it's not like they're just like, oh, if it gets flagged, it gets flagged. Like, they're making an effort to do this.
Do you remember the Australian Open this year when they didn't? To show you how perverse and how perverted this all is, they didn't have the rights to one of their own matches. So they, as the broadcaster, not as the rights holder, they showed a match with avatars. So it's, whatever it was,
what?
Alcaraz
why
against
do I
Novak.
not-
Yeah, the cartoons. Yeah.
They
What?
literally had cartoon characters.
What are you
They
talking about?
A rhinoceros played a hippopotamus because they couldn't use the images
John,
of the players.
what the fuck are you talking about right now?
Yeah, so the Australian Open to put the matches on YouTube, which is great, and it was under the guise of like the Nickelodeon like cartoon things where they're like, oh, we're going to do these characters, these animated characters, and so they put it on YouTube, and I think it did like 700,000 views, and then in 2000 it like doubled in views. It did over like 1.5 million views of like 2 animated characters playing.
Yeah, but this wasn't like some creative, content creator in Serbia doing this. This was the host event during a live match, broadcasting on YouTube, but without the likeness of the players, with like the hippopotamus against the rhinoceros or whatever it was.
I mean, it sounds like it's genius.
Honestly, I'm scribbling notes right now.
Yeah. Dude. We could be hippopotami. Is it hippopotamuses? Is it hippopotami?
Wait, I want to go back to what you said because I think you had a really good point that we shouldn't gloss over. The players should not be negotiating this as a give. Like the tennis as a collective body should want nothing more than Carlos Alcaraz said, "Hey everyone, did you see the crazy tweener I hit? Here it is." The players are the ones who have the leverage here. The players should be giving away nothing for the rights to post their own highlights. If you are a league, a tournament, even a rights holder, I want nothing more than Coco and Carlos Alcaraz using their own content to drive engagement with tennis. The players should give up nothing. They should be the ones getting something for this.
I want a group representing the players to think of stuff like this.
I mean, Coco Gauff has 2 million followers on Instagram. Like, you know how much it would cost to get her to post about your brand on Instagram? And like,
roughly,
they're in WTA and they're like, we don't really want you to.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars is the answer to your question.
Yes.
It's 6 figures and up.
And like, they're like, hey, we'll do it for free. Like, it kind of seems counterintuitive.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they would point to, not everyone is Coco Gauff and not everyone has the value out of Coco Gauff. I'm fully with you. I'm saying I would disagree with their explanation, but that's what it would be.
That seems silly.
Well, and we paid whatever it was, $160 million for the US Open. One of the things we're getting for that is exclusivity. We can't have all of our highlights being posted on everyone's social media's account. But look, ask the NBA if they're happy with the way they've handled their social media policy. It didn't seem to help them. It didn't seem to hurt them in their last rights negotiation.
No, I mean, they revolutionized the way it was perceived, quite honestly.
If you do that, if you do that, are you inviting the players to have a voice, and are you protecting the other 15 or 20% of prize money by virtue of, like, we're viewing this in a silo where it's like more views for highlights equals more dollars. But then if you get into that back and forth as far as conversation, are you going to end up giving up 15 or 20% more money in prize money, therefore being counterproductive financially in the end?
Bring in the consultants. Fair point.
Bueller.
No, I mean, there's an answer, right? I mean,
Bueller.
You could, anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on, shall we? Let's come back from our smoke break, shall we?
Is there any moving on, or is it?
No, I think that was such an exciting way to end the show.
Yeah. I mean,
honestly, we've been circling around this conversation. We are in the works of schedule and reviewing and doing some specials with that. And really, I think, interested to hear the comments as we kind of wrap this up. But I think what we want to do on our end is, on the production side, is really explain who are kind of the top 8 players in terms of organized bodies in tennis and how they influence and control the way the schedule's made. Because I think we all agree schedule is probably the biggest thing that should probably change.
It's the most agreed upon thing.
Yeah,
at scale. Right?
And it's actually the thing that can probably be organized and pulled together to where you can maximize revenue for everyone across all forms. So I think we want to analyze that and figure out what that looks like. And we had a bunch of questions actually about that exact thing.
Yeah. So basically, like, what is a Masters 1000? How do those licenses work? When it gets sold, how much is the value of each? What is the business of a 250 like? What is the ITF control? What are the slams control? What is the tours control? What are the cost mechanisms of all that stuff? We got into all these questions. It's easy to just throw like a random weeks of schedule. We want to actually, to the best of our understanding, tell you how all of that works and what the challenges are with the schedule. I get on here like a dummy and say, we got to change it. We got to do this. we need to tell you all the challenges that are in place because of all the fragmented pieces of the tour that have contracts in place that you have to unwind. That's the real challenge now, right? Is unwinding 250 contracts. You might have to buy them back. The slams will not move. Like there's no chance the U.S.
They're the pillars.
And the U.S. Open shouldn't move from Labor Day weekend.
No.
It's the most value entity in the sport. There was talk about Australia, like Thailand. So there are basically a bunch of these challenges, and not even roadblocks, but just things that are concrete that can't move, right? To create space. So we'll dive into that at some point, but it's going to take a level of preparation for that show that I didn't have to do for this one, but I still had a great time.
Yeah, this was great.
You're great.
We love your questions, guys.
You did great.
JW, where are you again? You're in Paris. Where are you eating dinner tonight?
Ooh, good question.
Paris, France.
Question.
Like good. I'm not into fine dining. I like to go where the locals go. It's a good noodle place. I'm in the Marais this year. Anyone has suggestions, feel free to fire away. But I don't do. If I never have another $60 piece of fish again, I'll be perfectly happy. Down and dirty.
Mike and I like fine dining.
I love fine dining.
I love it.
I'm such a white tablecloth guy.
I don't want to I want a vibe.
Really? No, I'm not.
I want a vibe, but but the one trade-off that I can't do is like a lot of times fine dining means you leave hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Not into that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like seafoam with I like
that
good,
stuff. I like that
burrito.
every once in a while.
Only because our listeners probably turned us off a minute ago. Thank you for listening and watching, sir. We'll see you next week.